Feels good to be back on
It
the
does.
side of the microphone.
No, it does. It's been quite a few months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've missed doing this. And it's been, what, about 7-8 months?
Yeah.
A lot has happened on both of our lives. And I think, when we talked about doing this, we thought, well, will we talk about it? Will we not talk about it? But we decided, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what's happened over the past 8 months. Let's get it out there and talk about our rebranding and all that stuff. So let's just get into it, yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
So we're no longer Prideful Connections. We've rebranded, and we're excited about that. Tony and Sarah Unscripted. And we have scripts in front of us today, but
yeah, that's what I said to him. I was like, Tony, it says unscripted, and yet you give me a script. But everybody knows Tony knows that that's Tony.
it's me.
Yeah.
It's me.
But it was such a meaningful project for us. And then things shifted, right?
Yeah.
Things moved a little bit. Can you share a little bit about what led to sort of the pause? Like what happened?
Yeah. People say, like, you ever watch a movie and they're like, my life changed in a second. That's exactly what happened to me. I was targeted. I'm not going to get into too much detail. There's no reason to name names and get into much detail, but I was targeted by a hate group, and it shook me to my core. It affected every part of my life, my safety. I had to leave the state for a while. And the people that I thought would protect me, some people I thought would protect me ended up not protecting me and really betraying me. And I think that has been the hardest for me to deal with, is the betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
So it was super painful, and I'm glad we're talking about this for a few reasons. But one of the reasons is to thank you, because you really, I don't know what I would have done if it wasn't for you keeping me updated on what was happening on social media. I had to drop off of the earth. I really did. I had to drop off the earth. And at that time, when I was doing that, I was in such a fight or flight. I have never in my life experienced that magnitude of fear.
Which is incredible to me, Tony, because you have experienced a tremendous amount in your life.
Yeah.
So for this to have that effect on you, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, when you're getting death threats, because I've gotten death threats before, and a friend of mine years ago said, you're famous when, and we laughed about it. But when somebody's calling your phone and you can hear them say, I'm going to kill you, in other words, it takes it to a different level.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you were there, and a lot of people were there to hold me up. I got to be honest, I'm just starting to feel that little bit of a shift in healing, And when we were talking about changing the podcast to a different type of podcast, we both agreed that it was super important to bring joy into people's lives, especially now. Yep. I mean, I don't care who you are. You're most likely you're not having a good day. Mm-hmm. So if we can bring joy into people's lives, and a lot of people's like, how can you be joyful when all this, stuff is going down? Well, joy isn't erasing what's happening. Joy helps you survive what's happening.
Right.
So I think people kind of get confused, because that's how I was. I was like, how can I laugh now? My livelihood, I lost a lot in June.
Yeah. How every stage in your life you've probably learned something, right? So going through what you went through back in June, what did you learn about yourself?
I learned that I had a hard time leaning on people, but I also learned I thought it was really cool what I learned. I learned that when all this was going down, and you were one of the people who were saying, what can I do for you? How can I help you? And I was like, I don't know. And I didn't like giving people that answer, but I realized the reason why I didn't know is because what I needed, nobody could give me. Mm-hmm. What I needed was to feel safe. What I needed was to know that I wasn't going to lose my job, and I ended up losing that job, as you know. So what I needed, nobody could give me, and I had to rely on allowing the community and my friends to hold me up, because I'm usually the person
doing that.
So to be in the other seat, since I transitioned 20 years ago, I've always been the person that held other people up, and I never put myself first. And I learned that I need to put myself first, and that's been the hardest for me.
I remember, because you worked a lot with children.
Yeah.
And I remember you getting some pretty meaningful texts.
Mm.
Do you remember, right? So from youth
Yeah.
who you would never have thought would reach out to you.
Yeah.
So what happened to you showed you not only, obviously, to those of us that are your friends and are in your life, what you mean to us, but can you talk a little bit about a few of those texts from youth who you worked with? Like, they got on the wagon with this. Well, what did they say to you?
You know, there was one, that was a hard question to ask me. It's very emotional for me. But there was one in particular that hit my heart. Was, I'm not going to name him.
Yeah.
But I sat with this child in psych units. I been working with him and trying to support him since he was 6. He's now 18, and he wanted to take care of me. Sorry. That to me was full circle. And just like the outpouring of even families and people trying to financially help me, it's very overwhelming for me to receive that, but I do feel it, and I appreciate everything that everybody's done. But when the kids started reaching out, it's a whole other. Yeah. It hits my heart in a different way, as you can see.
Oh, absolutely. These are kids that you've made a difference literally in their lives, right? And I'm pretty confident their parents didn't say, "Hey, would you reach out to Tony?" They did this on their own, which is incredible for kids. So you and I talked a lot about what we were going to do, what we were, we both missed doing our podcast, and we talked about what did we think was going to be the next thing for us.
Yeah.
Tony and Sarah Unscripted is what we came up with.
Yes.
If you can talk a little bit.
Not Sarah and Tony.
No, I know. I know. And do you know why? That's how I am, though. I didn't put myself first.
Yeah,
I said to
I
you,
did.
No. But I said to you, Tony and Sarah, because it just sounded better. But also, I would like to talk about what it means to me to do this. But first, I'd like to ask you that. Like, why do you think that this was a good thing for us to do, Tony and Sarah Unscripted?
Yeah, because I don't want to be scripted, even though I'm scripted today. I just think we got so much out of that. Like, I get so much out of helping my community. That's all I've done since I transitioned. I've helped other people. I get, like, when I'm learning something, like how to heal through this, I'm saying, okay, I'm going to use this tool, but after I'm done with this, I'm going to share it with other people. So I think, like, this podcast is, I want to bring joy to people. Now, listen, we're not saying that it's going to be all laughs and stuff like that, but certainly it's not going to be just hard conversations.
Right. Yeah. I think so, too. I think that there's so many stories out there that I wanted to bring to our podcast as well. You and I talked about how going from where you were and where I was not so long ago with my son to finding the strength and courage to continue on and, move on and find joy still in life, and how you do that. And it brings so many people to my mind who have gone through some very, very difficult things and have managed to come out of it stronger and actually doing meaningful work in this world based upon things that they've dealt with. Yeah. And I think it's so important, because we're all going through such difficult times, to have people on who can kind of say their story and say, all right, this happened to me and it was dreadful, it was awful, it was terrible, but this is how I got out of it, and this is what I got from it. Our lives are often, they are unscripted, right? Our lives are unscripted. We think we know what's going to happen. We think we know where we're going with our lives. We think, what our children are going to be like. And then just in a second, everything can change.
Yeah. Like the what I'm working on now, because, I've been healing in chunks. Like I just been trying to heal in a way that I'm being kind to myself. And that's really important. Like, I'm not trying to look back and rewrite my my past, like, why did what happened? Why did and go through every single conversation that I had with people prior to this event happening in my life.
Yeah.
And then during the whole, the heart of it, when I wasn't in the state and I was, navigating what the hell am I going to do with my life? That's the hardest thing, is how do I show up? Because I was always present with my community at events, up at the Capitol. I was always somebody who was asked to speak, and I brought a positivity vibe to those spaces. I don't feel I do that anymore. I haven't showed up. I feel that my presence isn't going to help my community. And it was never about, oh, look, I'm on camera. Oh, look, they're asking me. It wasn't ever about me. It was always about the kids. It was always about the families, trying to make their lives a little bit easier, navigating through what I'll call right now this massive shit show that we're trying to navigate through. So I need to show up in a different way. It's going to look different, but I feel like I'm getting closer and closer to where I want to be. And this podcast is absolutely part of it.
Yeah. You just said, though, that you don't think that your community wants you to there, right? To these.
Well, I don't know if they don't want me there, but I don't think my life will never be the same.
I know.
After what happened.
But you showing up in these spaces, because everybody knows that what happened to you was wrong, that you were wronged in all different facets of your life. You showing up in those spaces, again, shows resilience, right? It shows, I went through like an awful episode, but I'm here, I'm back, I'm staying. So it's if anything, it just shows your strength. It's when you are ready to do that, though.
Yeah.
And I've watched, listen, you and I don't know each other that long, but we got close very fast.
Yeah.
And I've watched a shift in you over the past 8 or 9 months. And I'm beginning to see you going back.
Yeah.
But as your friend, it was heartbreaking to watch what you were going through, and to see the shell of the Tony that I had known before. I see you rebuilding that, right? I see that shell coming back, and I know it's going to take time, but I'm really, really proud of you.
Thank you.
And know you got to remember that your whole community is around you, and not only your community, but like when I tell people that my friends who are not part of the community, they can't, because they listen to our podcast, they are blown away about what's happened to you, blown away, and it makes you realize the power of social media, right? The power of AI, right? The power of taking a video and falsifying it, which is exactly what happened with you.
And you know what's funny, Sarah? That's not what bothered me. It's losing my job that bothered me, and I'm not going to get into that at all. But that is really the betrayal. And even still, like, people in my community that I thought would always have my back, not, So, like I said, like, I'm starting to heal, and I always think that God and the universe, because I believe in both, like, I have guides and I believe in God, and they're giving me these little bits of information that is reminding me of who I was and how I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
The other night, I got a text message from a psychiatrist that I used to work with at Yale, but he has moved on, doesn't live in the state anymore. And he called me to ask me for advice on a client that he was working with. And I just was like, yeah, sure. I mean, why don't say that? Say this. Don't do this. Do that. And he was like, oh my God, I never even thought of it. So I do have experience, and I can still help. I might not be as loud as I used to be or as visible as I used to be, but sometimes behind the scenes, or like a podcast, or like holding wellness retreats, which I'm really digging into, will still help my community, because that's all I ever want to do. I want to be a help and a positive person, not anyone who can bring them any harm, even if it's not at my fault. Like,
right?
Yeah,
right. No, I understand that. So we wanted to shift everything towards not always joy and resilience, but we did want some positive stories, right?
We don't want to be pigeonholed.
Right. And we also wanted to be able to have some funny stories together about just day-to-day life, right? Things that happen to us individually. And then when you talk about them, people are like, oh, yeah, that happened to me and this and that. So we wanted to just kind of just make it a sort of fun half hour or so with us, when you, so you have shifted in what you now do.
Yeah,
because you offer.
I'm not doing support groups anymore. I, handed them off to a wonderful organization that it's not like I just stopped doing them. I handed them off to the only person that I would trust. Listen, like, they're like my family. When somebody joined my group, it was like they were coming into a family.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very mindful of making sure that people are in good hands.
Yes.
So that I'm not doing anymore. And I miss the conversations with parents. Like, that's what I miss. It's like you and I, that's how we met.
Mm-hmm.
And I miss that, hey, don't worry about it. It's, like, you got this or whatever. So I am thinking about, no promises, opening up my coaching practice again. I'm a certified life coach, and offering, coaching for parents and caregivers of trans and non-binary kids.
Yeah, that would be really good.
So I'm thinking about it.
But the other thing I was trying to get to is you do you call it something different now. Workshops that you do, overcoming.
I'm sitting in the crisis.
Yes, that's what I kind of was trying to get to. Yeah. Because can you just talk a little bit about that? Because I think so many people can resonate with that.
Yeah, so we're in crisis, and we're going to be in crisis when it comes to trans and non-binary kids not getting the health care that they need.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to prepare educators and health providers to be able to sit in the space with a kid that's in crisis, because they're not going to just keep it in their house.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine, and a lot of people say, well, what do you mean? I can't imagine as a trans man, when I was younger, if I was on testosterone or I had puberty delaying medication, if that was taken away from me and then my body started morphing into a body that I don't want, what is that going to do to these children psychologically? I know back 20 years ago when I started this work, there wasn't like it is now that people are telling them they can't have their care, but there wasn't enough people doing it. Right. So it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing as it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, we didn't have rights, and now you're taking the rights away.
Right.
It's a totally different vibe. But so we need to prepare for this. We need to prepare because we know, unfortunately, self-harm, suicidal ideation will probably skyrocket. So how do we prepare these hospitals, especially the hospitals that have ended care, to now take care of the kids that are coming through their psych units? Institutional betrayal is real. So I developed right away, as soon as this all started going down, I was like, okay, so I have 2 workshops that, I'm offering, and I'm seeing if people would bite. I'll go in and train them. And also at the end of these, I'm telling to the providers and to the educators, how do you take care of yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we need to do self-care. You need to be able to leave that shift or leave the school and keep some stuff behind. You can't bring it with you.
The other thing I also think it's so important to do is to find the good. And I think sometimes it's harder and harder to do that. If I can just talk briefly about what I went through over the past few months.
I was going to ask if you were okay with doing that.
Yeah, of course, because as you know, my youngest out of nowhere had a massive brain bleed that was caused from what they call an AVM stroke. So he was born with this ulterior venous malformation in his brain, which nobody would know about unless they caught it in a CT scan or MRI or he had some sort of symptoms of it, which he didn't. So it ruptured. We went through 2.5 weeks in the ICU, followed by 2 weeks at Gaylord for rehab. He still has rehab. He still has half a skull to put back in. He still has irradiation to do. All this thing in front of him, and in a time when my world was literally falling apart around me, the community where I live, which is Guilford, stepped up in a way that I couldn't imagine. And I saw so much good within not only that town, right? all of the churches around that green, and I actually sent a letter to the editor for our local paper talking about this, because it's so important that we talk about some of the positive stuff that you see happen. And we have 3 or 4 churches around our green that are all different denominations, and every single one of them was praying for my child in a different way. And then up in Hartford, at the place up in Hartford, they were also praying for my child. I have family in Ireland. They were praying for my child. My mother-in-law and father-in-law live in North Haven and had gone to a bunch of different churches. And so what I wrote in the letter to the editor was that it didn't matter who was Catholic, who was Presbyterian, who was Jewish, who was Christian Science, who was Republican, who was Democrat, who was independent. Every single one of them came together for the same purpose for my family. And it meant so much to me. And it was so quick for me to say, look, this is the good. Like this, I try to remind people, particularly my son, my youngest, who obviously is transgender, has been going through all that, then was hit with this thing where his life was abruptly changed. He questions sometimes, what the hell? Where's the good? Where is this and that? And I try to remind him of all this. There is a lot of good in this world. Yep. There really is. The problem is it's not news enough worthy, right? So you get all the negative stuff constantly. You get all the terrible stuff that's happening, and it comes on your feed, and it comes on your TV, and it comes on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and everywhere, and you're just bombarded with all this negative, horrible stuff that's happening. It's hard sometimes to find the good stuff, but it's there. I know there's got, because my story is just from Little Guilford, Connecticut. There was other stuff that happened. One of my friend's child ended up in the same ICU around the same time.
I remember that.
And she also got support from family and friends in Guilford and beyond. And then there was another thing that happened not that long ago with a family whose mother ended up in the hospital. Nobody knew why or what happened to her, and the tremendous amount of support that came from the community. When people are needed, they show up.
And we would hope that, and I love that. I mean, listen, I remember it was like it was yesterday when I got that text from you that Cameron was being rushed to the hospital.
Yeah.
It was terrible. And I'm glad people showed up, because you are always the first person to show up for others. But I would just hope and wish that people would show up when they're not needed. Like, it was just like, just walk down the street and just a smile to someone. If somebody's sitting alone, I always make it a point just to look at them and say, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Smile at them. I mean, you might be the only person who did that day for them. We don't know people's stories. Suffering is invisible. Mm-hmm. And I tell that all the time when I'm training. You can have a student, you can have a kid sitting in front of you with a smile on their face as big as day, right? But they're dying inside, right? That's why we have to start the conversations with people.
Robin Williams is a prime example of that.
Oh my gosh.
Literally.
That shook me.
Yes. And I've never been a huge girl fan of anybody, right? But I remember being in Ireland. I was visiting my mother when that news came out of him. And I don't know him from a hole in the wall, right? I just know him from watching him on TV and movies as I was growing up. But always watching him as a happy guy.
Yeah.
And thinking that, right? That he must have had this amazing life. And to see that wasn't the case, like that really stops people in their tracks to say, as you say, you don't know what people are going through. You have no idea what their lives are like.
And I think with social media now, and everybody's putting smiles on, everybody's having such a great life on, Facebook or Instagram or wherever you connect to. But the reality of it is that's not true.
Right.
So when people that are going through stuff like I was going through, and I'm looking at them, I actually dropped off social media, but I was like, I remember just walking or being in a space and looking around saying, God, I wish I can be as happy as them. Like, why am I going, like, it was a victim energy there for a while.
Yeah.
Like, why did this happen to me? And, why can't my life just be like it was an hour ago? You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think I would love to see people just show up
when you don't.
When you don't have to show up.
And
that
so
makes sense.
100%. And that's what I was going to say, right? People are there when needed, but we need to do more than that. A funny thing, not funny thing, something that Cameron said that just resonated with me was that he got to see how much he was loved by so many people. Something like that you typically only see when somebody dies.
Yes, yes.
And he got to experience it and still be alive. And there's a lesson behind that, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, we need to show people that what they mean to us, how much we love them, that we're here for them when they're here on Earth, right? When they're still with us. But he did. He got to experience that. And that was pretty cool. But it got me really thinking of like, well, hold on, I want people in my life to know how much they mean to me and how much I love them. And while they're still alive, while they're still with us.
Yeah. And you have to ask for what you need. Like I think it was like 2 months ago, I was really in a dark place. And I posted on Facebook, if I've helped you or if I've made you smile, I've done something positive. I forgot what the post was.
Yeah.
Let me know. 300 and something people commented. I'm like, what? Like, and some people say, oh, social media, that's, you live for the likes. I don't live for the likes, but when I need, I still teeter-totter out of dark places, but I'm really getting much more better. Like, the darkness is not as dark as it used to be. It doesn't show up as much.
Yeah.
It's only when I'm like triggered with something. But when I need my community to say, okay, Tony, you did help. You're not a jerk. You're not forgotten. My memoir, came out late last year. Late the year before. It was in November of 2024, I think it came out. I don't even know when it came out, to be honest. But I've been through a lot in my life, and I've overcome a lot in my life.
Yeah.
This past 7 months has been the hardest out of everything.
Why do you think that is?
Because I was hit at my core. My true belief, like, not to get into detail, but listen, I thought I was saving the life of a 12-year-old kid.
Right.
And that kid ended up being an actor. Ouch.
Mm-hmm.
That is beyond betrayal of everything that I've ever believed in. I mean, I know, like I said at the beginning, I know how to save a kid's life. And I wish I didn't have to say that.
No.
I wish I didn't have to say that, but that's the truth.
How long did it take you or are you still working on trusting?
I don't trust anybody.
Yeah.
Hey, no, I'm really having a hard time. Like, even when I'm out to dinner and somebody looks at me just a little too long.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh boy, are they part of it, or did they see it? Do they know who I am? Am I safe? So that's going to take a while. I've talked to people that this happened to, and they said that it takes at least 6 months to a year to kind of get your feet back under you.
Which is, I see what's happening, right? We're at that, you said 8-month mark.
It's 7 months. So it'll happen in June. So.
Yeah, where you're beginning to come out from under it.
Yeah.
But it has to be at your pace and time.
And listen, you know me. I didn't stop. I worked 24/7.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, boom, I was done. Like, you're not working. You can't do what you were doing because it's not safe. It's really it amazes me how people who don't know me, well, people judge people. Listen, I remember years ago. This is kind of a funny story. Drew, my best friend, Drew, and I went to. We were asked to go to Arizona to speak at some Let's Get Better Together conference. There was all these social workers and therapists in the audience. I never felt so supported in my life. But anyway,
good place to be.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah.
So we said, let's make a trip out of it. So from there, we drove to the Grand Canyon, and he was like, oh, let's go watch a sunset, something like that. So we rented a convertible, right? So we're sitting on the back of the convertible, and, we're listening to meditation music. We're waiting for the sun to set, and we're judging every single freaking person that walked by that car, okay? And I'm like, really? I stopped for a minute. I said, do you realize what we're doing? Are you listening to us? So I've been there.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, it's like, don't judge anybody from like social media and what you see, or, You know, get to know me. I'm not a bad person. I really try to do the best I can. And that's my whole thing. When I wake up in the morning, I do a meditation and I say to myself, just be the best person you can be today. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. And this is not, your life's not over. What happened is not going to define me.
No.
You know, and I'm not going to try to rewrite my past. And I'm not going to try to force relationships. And here's the biggest thing. All right, now you got me out.
What?
Here's the biggest thing. I will not make excuses for other people's behaviors, especially if they're adults.
Good.
I'm gonna match your energy. And if your energy is towards me is not a good energy, I'm not going to send it back to you, but I'm definitely not going to be in your bubble. You're not going to be in my bubble.
Yeah.
And again, my bubble.
Oh, I know. Yes, it's a fun place to be. I remember.
I'm telling you.
Just before we begin to finish up.
Wrap up.
The best friend thing, I just have to mention this because I always think it's so funny when people say, and I have a best friend as well.
Yeah.
Her name is Lynn.
I never met Lynn.
I've known her forever. Like we've been so close since we were freshmen in high school. But anytime people say to me or people talk and they talk about the best friend, it always makes me think that spot in their life is taken. Right? Like, so Drew is Tony's best friend. So if you were hoping to become Tony's best friend, you got to get rid of Drew in order for that to happen.
BFF.
Oh, BFF.
I mean, we went through a lot together. I don't know what I would do without him. We laugh together. I mean, I could be like at my lowest, and then he'll say something to make me laugh.
Well, I think that at some point we need to have Drew on here.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I would love to just be able to talk to you, the two of you, and get some good stories from Drew, because I'm sure that he has some really good stories.
He does.
Yeah.
He's very, very good. Yeah.
Listen, it was so good to be back here with you.
Yeah, it feels great.
And
a shout out to the space, not for anything, Direct Line.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Amazing
really
place.
Supporting us through it. I mean, really, let's just take a second. David, you reached out to me. David, this is unscripted. He's sitting in the room here. You reached out to me the day after all this happened, and that meant so much to me. You've supported us through everything. So kudos to you and Steph for being there for us. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, we really, really do. And we're looking forward to doing so many more episodes together, getting some people in here, and then sometimes it's just going to be you and I shooting the shit.
That's right. And talking about my mother sometimes.
Oh, I love
God love my mother, 88 years old.
Can't wait for that.
Comedy. Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
See you later.
Bye-bye.